President Donald Trump and his surrogates have been very forward about his effect on the economy.
Look, if you don't work or live inside the mainstream media and their giant, incestuous, almost like bubble, then you might have seen that the economy under President Trump is on an absolute tear. This is good news for forgotten men and women in this country. Take a look at these numbers.
And detractors have been ready to renounce those claims.
Job creation is not as good under President Trump as it was under President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton in the first 6 months of their office. I've given you evidence that stock market performance was better under President Obama, and this is a continuation. But you just deny it, and you go on to say other things.
Pointing to the fact that the economic growth we see began under President Obama. Whether or not either is correct, while the evidence supports that presidents alone have a minimal effect on the economy, they are fighting for a narrative. It is popularly believed in political science that the economy is super important when it comes to elections. The president wants to be able to tout a growing economy, and the opposing party wants to argue the exact opposite. Theoretically, the winner of this battle wins elections, right? Well, history and a few studies have shown that this isn't exactly how it happens. Let's take two firsts in presidential history, the election of President JFK and Barack Obama. Despite both being very young, they had in common that they were the first of respective groups to become president. JFK was the first Catholic, and Barack Obama the first African American. Catholic voters turned out to vote in unforeseen numbers to elect JFK, and a large swath of Protestant voters stayed home. The rate of African American voters during Barack Obama's first election was record-breaking. Overall, groups matter in elections. In both of these instances, omit the biggest group identity that drives people to the polls. And that would be political parties. And this matters very much when it comes to the economy. Unfortunately, the relevant research done exposes the truth that how we see the economy is affected by what party we're in. In 2009, the employment rate was 7.6%. By 2015, it had fallen to 5%. When asked, 76% of Democrats agreed that the employment rate had decreased. But at the same time, 53% of Republicans said it had gone up. This contradicts the idea that we vote because someone has done a good job or because they hold our beliefs. Research shows that we pick our group, coddled by that feeling of belonging and identity, and then decide what we believe. But you might ask, what about those who aren't comforted by either party? We do know that economic crisis affects voters very drastically. But who voters choose after a crisis has nothing to do with policy. For instance, after the Great Depression, Republicans were voted out in the US, and Democrats saw control of the government until the 60s. In Australia, the Radical Labour Party, or Liberals, were voted out. The Swedish people chose the leftist party we see till this day. In New Zealand, centrists were booted out for the Labour Party. And voters in Germany chose, the Nazis. Moral of the story is, voters often just choose whoever is not in power after economic distress. And perhaps that explains what we're seeing in the United States today. While it's a bleak look on society, it would appear that the trick isn't being able to fight for a good economy, but just not being in office when a major crisis happens. Everyone else will vote the party line. I'm Iziah Thompson, and thanks for watching Iziah Explains. If you want more videos like this, subscribe to our channel or follow me at Iziah_Thompson on Twitter or I_know creative on Instagram.